And away we go. It's your DFS Early Bird presented by Awesemo.com. Dan Strafford and Adam Scher along with you on this Wednesday morning. I feel like, Adam, we sort of flipped worlds where Monday, Wednesday has 4 and 5 games, and Tuesday, Thursday has 9 and 10 games. But we have a 5-game NBA slate with us. How the hell are you doing?
Doing pretty good. Not last NBA slate, but last NBA slate doesn't come with baseball.
Yeah, I mean, officially, yes. I mean, unofficially.
Right.
To speak actually proper English. So the reason we jumped off pretty quickly here, Adam asked me before we started if I watched the Nurkic video. And the answer is no. The answer is always going to be no. I am not Adam nor Laffy, where I seek out grotesque injuries and in fact try to find them. I fell asleep early. What was that, Sunday night, right, when that happened?
It was last night. Monday night.
Oh, it was Monday. Sorry, it was Monday night, right. So I fell asleep early. And I do news updates for FNTSY. So I have to write the news, and typically I do them late at night and for the morning. And I fell asleep. And so I woke up at 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning to write it, and whatever, not the time of day, but like I woke up and read like multiple different headlines of grotesque. I was like, I'm going to have to go seek out information on this. I'm going to have to go read over and over again about a compound fracture and about he's 7'1", right? 7'1", 340-pound man shattering his leg.
Yeah, but if you're just reading about it, you don't get the audio and you can't hear it.
Oh, no way, dude. No, it's not. No, I can't.
You should at least find, I mean, I guess you would still have to see his leg, but I was going to say, did you at least hear about the ref, like, just kicking him also?
No. Oh, God. I still haven't seen. No.
So Nurkic is laying on the ground with his leg going like 4 different directions. And the ref, I don't know if he just didn't see the play. I don't know how he missed the 7'1" dude laying on the floor with a broken leg. But he just walks right into him, kicks him in the foot, like on the broken leg, like kind of trips, and then just keeps walking.
That's rough. Two things I saw was, one, the post. I did watch the post reaction of like sort of everyone, the NBA's reaction. So it was all of the NBA stars tweeting at him.
Okay,
great. And I saw the when he's already laying on the ground, sort of the pan to the crowd and like checking in on the different people and people with their heads in their hands and all of that.
Okay, yeah. Did you see the Nets just go sprinting the other direction all at once?
No, but oh man. And listen, it's if somebody can make a free throw at the end of regulation, they don't get there. And if you're someone who believes in the butterfly effect, the guy never breaks his leg. Just make a damn free throw.
You can go back further than Seth Curry. You can go back to Kenny Atkinson insisting on closing with Jared Dudley over DeMarre Carroll and blowing like a 10-point lead in the fourth quarter.
Yeah. And I am someone who believes like injuries, so muscle injuries like ACL tears and Achilles tears, I feel like are going to happen no matter what, right? Like they're sort of your muscles are deteriorating for one reason or another, and something happens and it finally goes completely. This seems like one is circumstantial. Like I've read enough about it, like the way he landed and the way everything weight came together. I blame the Nets. Let's just blame the Nets.
Yeah,
like, blame the Nets fully.
Yeah, that's what you
go. We do have 5 games on tap here, and I'm going to let you know that even just 5 games, there's going to be shenanigans here. It's that time of year in the NBA. Adam made the point about Major League Baseball, but not even that from a DFS perspective. It's just so many teams are a mess. So many teams are resting players. So many teams have injuries that you're going to have to stay close to your lineups. If you weren't already, locked and loaded through lineup lock and on top of your phone or your laptop, if you're still playing NBA DFS, you're going to want to be close because it's just going to be a lot of potential openings of value, but also players resting or players just being out for unknown reasons. We do have a situation here where the entire Bulls franchise could be off tonight. So that's going to weigh heavily on how you go about playing this slate. The Bulls are playing Portland. It's an 8 p.m. tip. All 3 games are at 8, then 2, 10 or later, 10 and 10:30, which is much better than Monday night when it was 7, 8, 9, and 10 tip-offs. But any injuries more so than any others that stand out to you? I know it's Levine and Dunn and the rest of the Bulls, but anything that you are at least this early on as we record this being most mindful of when it comes to early projections here and where you think this slate might go?
Well, outside of the Bulls, I think Mike Conley's the big one. Obviously, if he's out, you have DeLon Wright and Tyler Dorsey and everyone else on that team, again, becoming really, really good plays. Whereas if he's in, it takes a lot of the shine away. Beyond that, it literally is the entire Bulls squad. You had Dunn, Porter, Levine all miss Tuesday's game. Lauri Markkanen did not play in the second half with an illness, so he's now questionable. That is just going to be a mess.
Yeah, a mess to be sure. You also have the entire, a large majority of the Phoenix Suns starting lineup has been in and out. You had Devin Booker go absolutely ape shit, I guess. Like, it's just absolute nuts stat line in a loss. And, 59 points, 4 rebounds, 4 assists, 1 steal. I believe, and I'm going from memory here, first player in NBA history to score over 50 points where the rest of his teammates did not score in double digits.
Wow, it sounds right.
I'm fairly certain. And another one of first person in NBA history to score over 50 points in a loss of 30 points or more, I think is the right stat there as well. So Booker's going to keep shooting. That's for damn certain. But the rest of the team may not. So
not if Jimmer Fredette has anything to do with it.
Oh, Jimmer.
Did you see the end of the game?
I did not. No.
I didn't either, but I saw tweets about it, and Lofty said it was actually pretty funny to watch. But Booker's at 59. He subs back in with 2 minutes to go, down by 30-something points to try and get to 60.
Why not?
And Jimmer Fredette's just out there chucking shots and freezing out Devin Booker and not giving him the ball.
Jimmer. Good to have you back in our lives. Let's dive in here, Adam. We're going to go point guard through center. Don't forget, on Wednesdays, Lofty has your write-up. This goes into baseball as well, so you have the deep dive, and you have the deeper dive, which is Adam and Lofty. That's at 5 p.m. Eastern time, almost every single day. It will shift from time to time, but typically that is your start time for that show. You get the NBA strategy show, which will turn into the MLB strategy show in the not too distant future. There will be crossover. There will be both sports being covered. But we here on the DFS Early Bird will transition towards baseball in the not too distant future. So be ready for that. We have Westbrook at 10.5, Damian Lillard at 10.3 with even more of an offensive burden here. I think Cantor, and you mentioned before we started recording, is going to be very highly, if not almost 100% owned here on this slate. But Lillard is going to have to score in bunches. So you have Westbrook and Lillard as our 2 top point guards. Then you have Booker at 9,200. Steph Curry is at 89. Donovan Mitchell is at 7,900. And then you get into question marks, right? You get into Levine and Conley. McCollum is out. Dunn, has he been fully? No. Dunn was out Tuesday, still waiting for him on Wednesday. Back issues. Assume he'll be out. Darren Collison will be back. He's at 5,700. And then it's DeLon Wright at 56. Ricky Rubio, Shaq Harrison, a bunch of giant question marks depending on playing time or skill set. What do you see at point guard? Who are some of your favorite plays?
So at the top between Westbrook and Lillard, obviously a more appealing matchup for Lillard. Huge pace down spot for Westbrook against the good Indiana defense, whereas Lillard, not a fast-paced Chicago team, but a not very good defensive Chicago team. If you look at per-minute production, and you have on DraftKings at basically the same price. If you look at per-minute production, Lillard without McCollum or Nurkic on the floor, and then Westbrook just normal, they're both right around between 1.5, 1.6 points per minute. So I would side with Lillard if all things are equal, all things being ownership projections. But I think that basically if you have to just choose one of them, you would want to go with whichever one's lower owned because they should project pretty similarly. Lillard, obviously is going to be the entire offense now. He has he's averaged 1.57 DraftKings points per minute without Nurkic or McCollum on the floor. Westbrook's generally in that range anyway. So I don't think that there should be a huge discrepancy in ownership. But if there is, I would take the lower owned one. If there's not, I would lean towards Lillard at the top.
I'm going to call you out slightly here that you just said, and I'm going to paraphrase, but all things being considered, specifically that all things being ownership. So that's not really all things. It's specifically ownership being considered as we go. But I enjoy the turn of phrase and completely hear you on that. And that's where on a 5-game slate, much like the 4-game slate on Monday, you're going to have to make the choices, right? You're going to have to make the choices based on ownership. Osmo.com does have ownership projections, something Adam I know uses. Lofty talks about it a lot. Josh talks about it a lot of when you're building lineups of trying to get that optimal lineup and some leverage in getting lower owned players. So if you're interested, you can use the promo code EARLYBIRD. You get in for 50% off your first month over at Osmo.com. EARLYBIRD, one word. Booker, Mitchell, and then a bunch of Q tags. I think we're going to have to stay tight with news here, but do you go back to a Booker against Washington at 9,200 or is that just asking too much of a single player to continue to put up gigantic numbers like that?
I think Booker's fine at that price tag. Washington's not playing as fast as they were earlier in the year. That could be a product of just them playing a little bit bigger recently. But since the All-Star break, they rank in the middle of the pack, like 13th in pace. So not quite as appealing a matchup, but still a terrible defense. Still, that Booker is basically their entire offense. I don't think he should only be $1,100 less than Lillard or $1,300 less than Westbrook. So that's where it gets a little bit tough. But I still think that he clearly can go for 70 fantasy points in any given matchup. Mitchell also, I think, is okay against the Lakers, but I think I'd rather get to Booker. I just think that he has a little bit higher ceiling here. Steph against Memphis is okay. I think I'd give the slight edge to Booker, assuming that everyone on Golden State is good to go.
Yeah, and then you have Donovan Mitchell here against the Los Angeles Lakers at 7,900. Maybe we can save him for shooting guard just to diversify a little bit here. Satoransky against Phoenix is 6,100. You get Rajon Rondo against Utah at 6K. Schroeder, DeLon Wright. Does Avery Bradley at being out boost Wright and or Tyler Dorsey, or do we really need to wait for Conley news there?
With their price tags coming up, you really need to wait for Conley news because if Conley is in, the last time Conley was in, we saw Tyler Dorsey get the start. 2 games ago, DeLon Wright got the start. But they are both absolutely useless when they play alongside Mike Conley. And when Conley plays, he's playing 34 to 36 minutes. So he's out there for most of the game. And now that you have Wright and Dorsey's price tags coming up, you really don't want to roster them when they are going to be in the least productive spot that they possibly can be. So I think Conley just basically makes them, if he's out, they're still 2 of the top values on the slate. And if he's in, then they're both not really that appealing.
What about any of these Bulls backups? So Archie Diacono or Shaq Harrison or any of these guys, anybody worthwhile at least as potential placeholders or guys you might lean on for some value?
Yeah, not really happily, but it's no worse of a matchup than it was against Toronto last night. And if this entire group is out, I mean, you have to get production from somewhere. You have to get minutes from somewhere. Arcidiacono is around a 0.8 fantasy point per minute guy without any of the starters on the floor. Harrison's around 0.9 points per minute. So, they're good enough. Antonio Blakeney will chuck up shots. He doesn't play a ton of minutes, but if the entire Chicago team is out, then they're still cheap enough where you can look there.
That sounds really enticing. Let's go to shooting guard next. NBA in late March. Devin Booker, Brad Beal is 9K. He's obviously been somebody we've talked about many times over here, excuse me, on the podcast. Had an off night last time out, played 34 minutes, but just shot 14 shots, 2 of 8 from three-point range, and had very little peripheral stats here against, what was that last time out? Who did he play against? Against Miami, which not too surprising as the Heat play down in pace and play pretty good defense. You get Curry, Mitchell, Klay Thompson is at 7K. You got Bogdanovich and Ingles as potential plays here. Who's your favorite shooting guard on this slate?
I mean, it's Booker. I already talked about him at point guard, obviously, but it's Booker. The price tag on Mitchell is pretty appealing. I don't really want to go to Beal all that much here. I think that we've talked before about not expecting him to play the huge minutes that he was earlier in the season. Scott Brooks kind of hinted at that even more so in statements, I think before the game against the Lakers on Tuesday, said that he may look to rest Beal down the stretch, but he needs to kind of figure out when to do it. So I'm not expecting him to play huge minutes on the second half of a back-to-back. It obviously is an appealing matchup, but I think that you can get, similar upside in production from someone like Steph Curry for $100 less on DraftKings, for, Klay Thompson against a Memphis team that is playing faster than they were earlier in the year and is not as good defensively. Even Satoransky on the same team in that appealing matchup for $3,000 less. All those guys, I think I would rather get to than Beal in the mid-range, but I would definitely put Booker and Mitchell at the top.
Obviously, you get DeLon Wright here again if Conley is out. We talk about Joe Ingles at 5,800 against the Lakers. Kentavious Caldwell-Pope on the other side, not obviously a great matchup, but somebody who plays at least in the low 30s in minutes, could be at least a plug-in, depending on how your roster construction is going. Justin Holiday again, a starting lineup, put up 38.25 DraftKings points, not the end-all be-all stat there, but at least has some upside. Troy Brown for Washington. Are there any of these, let's say 55 or 5,500 or cheaper guys that at least give you some sort of confidence in what they might give you?
Mikal Bridges should play a bunch of minutes against Washington, especially if Josh Jackson is out again. He's another Q tag on this slate, but Bridges at 4,800 in an appealing matchup is fine. It's a big pace-up spot for Bojan Bogdanovich, so that's fine. Clearly not excited. Ingles at 5,800 probably would be my favorite out of that group. But, again, if you needed to go a little bit cheaper, you can get the Bridges. You can you should get like 30 minutes from Seth Curry. He's still, no matter who you take off the floor, he's like a 0.65 to 0.7 fantasy point per minute guy. So keep your expectations in check. But depending on, there's at least some possibility that you just get everyone playing here. And if that's the case, then Curry becomes a pretty good value play.
This is my random, I think I mentioned him 3 times over the past couple of weeks. Troy Daniels could put up 25 to 30 DraftKings points at 3,500 for the Phoenix Suns. He's been playing 20 to 27 minutes over the past 3 games. I don't think it's going to happen, but I feel at least on a short slate where we don't have a ton to go off of, he's a name worth highlighting is the wrong word, at least mentioning, I will say here, at that cheaper price point. But shooting guard's a rough one, and I will admit I have not looked at FanDuel intentionally. Like, this is a slate where I have not pulled it up simply because it's going to be, and I know it's going to be ugly. Small forward, you get LeBron at 10-1. This is a back-to-back for the Lakers, right?
Yes. I'd be shocked if he plays.
Yeah,
they might have already said he's not playing.
I haven't seen it, but I would be pretty surprised if LeBron is in this lineup. You get Paul George at 9-9 against the Pacers. Oklahoma City, we've talked about this on the pod a bit, but Oklahoma City is out west trying to lock up with the 7, right? They're a half game. Yeah, they're a half game in front of San Antonio and a full game behind Utah. They have not yet locked up the playoffs. It seems like a foregone conclusion, but obviously Oklahoma City, one of those teams that many pointed to as being a potential, thorn in the side of Golden State, trying to just lock in a playoff spot at this point. They are only 7.5 games back of the Warriors, but still surprising to see them still trying to lock it all down. You get Durant at 8,700. Kuzma, if LeBron is out, is 6,600. Still not a great matchup against Utah. You have Otto Porter Jr. He was out Tuesday with a shoulder injury. Haven't seen him officially out for Wednesday. And then you have Bogdanovich again, Joe Ingles again, Thad Young at 5,600. If LeBron is out, let's operate with the idea that he is. Where do you go at small forward?
So if LeBron's out, you at least are going to get a lot of offensive opportunities for Kyle Kuzma. He's played 348 minutes without LeBron or Brandon Ingram on the floor this season. He's only averaged 1.02 points per minute, but he does have a 28.6% usage rate, 16% assist percentage. So the opportunities will be there. It's a tough matchup, and there's going to be limited offensive players for the Lakers. So Utah can definitely clamp down on Kuzma, but the upside will at least be there. If you can find the money for George or for Durant, then fine. But I don't think I'll really want to prioritize either guy here. I think I'd rather just kind of go cheap and hope for the best from guys like Bogdanovich or Bridges. Troy Brown should be in the starting lineup still. He started against the Lakers, but Trevor Ariza did return. He played 10 minutes and got hurt again. So Scott Brooks is an idiot and got what everyone saw coming there. But Brown should play a bunch of minutes in an appealing matchup for a pretty cheap price tag.
All right. Anybody? Well, let's keep the ball rolling here. Anybody cheap-wise, really cheap, that is worth being on a radar at small forward? I don't think there is.
Lance Stevenson.
Yeah. So no. The answer is no.
Well, I mean, so Reggie Bullock was out on Tuesday, so I don't know what his status will be. LeBron, we're assuming, doesn't play. Josh Hart's done. They kind of don't have that many bodies, and Lance Stevenson could just have one of those games where he gets to go do whatever Lance Stevenson wants to do.
Wayne Selden in play here. And by the way, I think we've talked about this before, but he is a werewolf, right? According to his DraftKings picture.
So I finally saw the picture that you talked about. Yeah.
All right. So.
But yeah, no, he's another one. Like, he got the start on Tuesday. He put up, I think, like 30 DraftKings points against Toronto. If a group of these guys are out, then he certainly is capable of outproducing a $3,600 price tag. If there's no high usage option on the floor with him, he will go out there and shoot.
It's going to be awesome to leave like $5,000 on the table here on DraftKings. But
yeah, it's going to be great.
So power forward, you get much of the same guys we've already talked about. You have Paul George, Durant, marking in with the Q tag, Kuzma, Otto Porter Jr., Otto Porter Jr. With what I assume now is a Q tag. He was out Tuesday night, back-to-back here for the Bulls. He was dealing with a shoulder injury. Trying to read through. There's a good chance Porter's absence streak could end up reaching 5. Yeah, I think he'll be out again on Wednesday. Then you get into Parker and Portis for Washington, Sabonis. Draymond Green is at 6,200 against Memphis. Thomas Bryant has power forward eligibility for Washington at 6K. And then you get into the mix of the Jay Crowders and Caboclos and Jeff Greens of the world. Anybody different than what we talked about small forward that you like in power forward?
Thomas Bryant. He's currently doing absolutely nothing on Tuesday at like 50 to 60% ownership. Hopefully, if that keeps up, hopefully it drives down his ownership a bit. We're like 5 minutes into the third quarter. He's already played 18 minutes, so the minutes look fine. He's just somehow not getting points against the Lakers. The Wizards in general are just getting their asses kicked right now. So I still think it's a nice price tag for him. The Wizards have plenty of incentives to keep playing him minutes. He is a restricted free agent this offseason. They need to figure out what they're going to do with him. He's shown obviously some talent this year. So he's a greater than 1 fantasy point per minute guy. He's facing a Phoenix team that sucks almost as bad as Washington does, probably, or I guess worse. So yeah, Thomas Bryant, absolutely love him again. Don't care what happens, what his final line is against the Lakers. And then Derek Favors at 5,800 going against the Lakers. It's a game where Utah should just beat the shit out of the Lakers. I mean, it's
right.
In Utah, Lakers are on a back-to-back, but we had talked about it before the game, the Utah and Phoenix game. For one, Utah tends to keep their starters or their main players into the fourth quarter, as long as it's not an actually like embarrassing game. But beyond that, Derek Favors doesn't close games anyway. He starts the fourth quarter, he subs out after 5 or 6 minutes. Jay Crowder takes it home. So you should still get around 25 minutes from Favors, regardless of what the score is. And he's averaged 1.3 points per minute over the last month and a half. So really, really like Derek Favors a lot.
Right, and Favors at 5,800 feels like a strange low or mid-tier balanced lineup, and you pay up at one or two spots and see exactly how much cash you have left over for the utility spot on a site like DraftKings. Let's talk centers. Cantor's going to be 80% owned in actual, like, I think he should be close to 100% owned, especially on DK where you get utility and the center, but he's going to be at least 85% owned, right?
He should. He'll be like 60.
Well, that's 65. A good point because there are idiots out there, but that's fine.
TJ McConnell was 60% owned the other night on what? I don't remember how big the slate was, but it wasn't big enough for him to be.
That was the fourth game, right? That was the 4-gamer on Monday, or is that Sunday?
Really Monday. It was definitely on Monday.
Monday was a 4-game slate. Yeah.
Wow, I didn't even realize that.
Yeah. That was when Lofty and I logged on Sunday night to do the show. I did it's 4 games. He goes, no, it's not.
Yeah,
no, it's really 4 games. That's what I said at the top of this one. It's a weird, flip flopped world where for the time, Adam, Emac, Lofty, and I have been at FanVice and now at Osmo. It was always Monday, Wednesday, Friday were the bigger slates, and Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday were the smaller ones. And the NBA's schedule this year has just been different. It's the best way I can describe it. And this week, most of all, you have Cantor against the Bulls, against a Bulls team that's going to be depleted. He's going to get tons of run, you would assume. So it's going to be a situation where at 5, I think he's 5K. You're going to have to need. Oh, by the way, math tells me that McConnell was a bad play on Monday. I just wanted to make sure to make sure to say that here on the podcast. You get Gobert at 8,200. He's in a great spot. Valanciunas, I don't play centers against Golden State Warriors. I just don't do it. They tend to take them out of the mix, but 7,700 isn't the worst price point, and the Warriors have given up some big games to centers this year. You had JaVale McGee against Utah, and whatever narrative you want to get about Gobert on the year with rebounding. There are a bunch of centers you could play. Who's some of your favorites in a good order here?
Yeah, so I mean, it's another reason why Cantor might not even hit 60% because it is a deep position. But Gobert against the Lakers, obviously a really good spot, a really nice price tag, and for the first time in what feels like a really long time, he's on a slate where we don't have Embiid, Jokic, and Vucevic all up there as well. So I love Gobert here. Ayton against Washington's a phenomenal spot. Joe Val without Noah, Golden State can cause some problems, but I mean, now that Boogie's there, it's not like they don't really play that death lineup anymore with Draymond Green. It's just a different Golden State team. So I think Valanciunas, he's averaging like 1.45 points per minute without Conley, 1.3 minutes with Conley. So a good play regardless. But if Conley's in, I think I would end up with him behind Gobert and Ayton. If Conley's out, I probably end up with Valanciunas ahead of them. McGee, the price tag in the matchup here is probably finally enough for me to get away. He's killing Washington right now as we speak. He has like 45 fantasy points in the third quarter. But, obviously different matchup here, and it would just be really hard for me to get him ahead of Valanciunas, Ayton, Gobert.
And what about cheap end of the pool here? We talked Cantor. Is there some Robin Lopez upside here against Cantor and his lack of defense?
Actually, Lopez is kind of interesting because the rest of the team is injured. He just kind of should take on a bigger role. So I actually like that call at 4,900. Cantor, obviously, like even if you project him for 26 minutes, he's averaging 1.2 points per minute. He should be fine. But then also not in the same lineups as Cantor. But you have $4,000 Zach Collins with power forward eligibility on DraftKings. I assume that he basically takes the rest of the center minutes. So if I give Cantor 26, I assume Collins would get around 22, maybe a couple minutes alongside Cantor. So he would be a perfectly fine value option as well.
And with Cantor and Lopez being almost the same price, 5,000 and 4,900, I assume Lopez will be very low owned in comparison. Not a good basketball player. I mean, he's Captain Caveman, so you take that for what it's worth. But could be a guy that sneaks into. So let me ask you this: you're not a huge cash game player, playing more GPPs, but would you say that Cantor is a cash game play because of his ownership, and Lopez more of a GPP, or is that too fine a distinction?
I think that Cantor is both.
Yep.
Certainly, like Cantor, certainly the cash play between the two. In tournaments, if I were making, like, I would have more Cantor exposure. I don't really see any way that I end up getting more Lopez than Cantor. It's a reasonable spot if you were like hand building a lineup to say, okay, I have this lineup. I like how it looks. I like the construction, and I have Cantor at 5K. My lineup's really chalky. Let me switch it to Robin Lopez. Like, that's reasonable because you probably get more minutes from Lopez, and things obviously can go sideways for Cantor. But there's basically no way I get like more Lopez than Cantor.
That makes sense. And that is all as we take an early look here at this slate. And it's a game we often play of 9K and above. And it's a little bit sketchy on this one, exactly where you want to go. But let's do it anyway. Brad Beal, Devin Booker, Paul George, LeBron James. Let's put James back into the mix here, though we're assuming he's out. Damian Lillard at 10-3 and Westbrook at 10-5. Which player are you building around on this slate if you had to choose one?
Give me Dame.
Yeah, he has to carry this team, and it's a good matchup, and he's going to shoot. What would you put his shot attempts at for this game?
So if this game goes 4 quarters and it's actually competitive, 30.
Yeah, that sounds about right. Do we have a line? I know the lines weren't out when we first started. Still no line on this one. There are 2 games that of the 5 that have lines: the Oklahoma City and Washington game. There's just so many people that could be out for the Bulls and the Nurkic news. I assume Portland is what, like a -5 or 6 here on the road? Too much? That might be too much for Portland.
If everyone on Chicago is in, probably like, I don't know, 5 or 6.
So that's going to be one to keep an eye on. And listen, throughout the day, we have information over there at awesemo.com. You get the NBA Strategy Show, which is on our YouTube channel. You get the Deep Dive, which Lofty writes Monday, Wednesday, Friday. You get Adam Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday. You get Alex's grades and the lineup builder. That's behind the paywall. You get projections behind the paywall, article behind the paywall. Use the promo code EARLYBIRD, EARLYBIRD, 2 days in a row on this podcast. I've spelled that accurately. And then you get the deep dive and you get live before lock, which are both free over there on YouTube. Come join us. Don't join YouTube chat. It's kind of crazy over there, but we love you all, whoever watches, but you're kind of crazy over there in YouTube chat. Don't forget to like and subscribe here on YouTube. Do the same over on iTunes. Find Adam on Twitter at ShipMyMoneyDFS. Find me at Dan Strafford. As we close out, did I forget anything, Adam? I didn't skip over any positions, right? We're ready to go here.
Yeah, no, I think we're good.
Pretty crazy. We will transition to baseball very soon. It is around the corner. Don't forget, a true ace in Major League Baseball, Andrew Kashner, pitches on opening day. So get ready for that. With that said, we wish you the best of luck, and we'll talk to you again tomorrow on the DFS Early Bird, presented by awesemo.com.